Welcome back, everyone. I'm Max Forti. I'm joined today by my good friend Dariush Alavi. He's a writer, he's a blogger, a perfume critic, and he's actually was a guest here on the Max Forti Chat podcast, which is another platform I have about a month ago. And I love to talk to him fragrances. And today we're going to do just that. We're going to count down the best 10 fragrance releases thus far in 2020, according to us. So if you guys want to check out the picks, stick around. They're coming up right now. So welcome to another video, everyone. I have my friend with me today, Dariush. Dariush, say hello to everyone.
Hi, Max, and hi, everybody out there. Thanks very much for having me again.
It's always a pleasure. So we're going to do this in a very cool way. It's going to be a countdown, from my fifth position to my first and favorite release of 2020. And Dariush will do the same thing. So we'll do this back and forth. He'll start with his fifth, and then I'll do my fifth, and so forth and so on. So Dariush, go ahead and tell us a little bit about why you chose those fragrances and start off with your fifth pick.
Perfect. Now, if anybody saw me pulling a face, it's because the idea of putting things in rank order is just really, really against my nature. But anyway, for the sake of the respect that I have for the Max Forti channel, in position number 5 is this, everybody. This is ESCENTRIC 05 from the brand ESCENTRIC Molecules. Very, very quickly, for those of you who may not be aware of this brand, the way that their releases work is that there's always one perfume that's called ESCENTRIC followed by a number, and another one called Molecule followed by the same number. And the idea is that the one that's called Molecule literally just contains one molecule. So when the brand started, the first one that they had in there was the very famous molecule Aesop Super. And then the perfume that's called ESCENTRIC something is a whole composed fragrance around that molecule. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Sure. This one, the ESCENTRIC 05 and Molecule 05, are based around a very, very commonly used synthetic musk called cashmeran, both composed by Geza Schoen. Of course, when I say composed for Molecule 05, all he did was he took cashmeran and diluted it. The reason why I like this is because I think it's one of those rare examples of a piece of work where you really, really smell the concept in the juice. As Geza Schoen himself explained, the reason why he likes cashmeran as a material is because it's got a very, very cocooning, warm, enveloping, velvety feel, but it also has pine-like qualities, woody qualities, definitely spicy qualities. And it inspired him to create a scent based around a Mediterranean villa that he has in some isolated location. And so this is like a portrait of what he sees when he's surrounded by the landscape of that villa. So it's got some mandarin, some sweet orange in there. It's got the pine-like facets of the cashmeran. It's got rosemary, it's got herbs, and it's got that very, very warm, like I said, cocooning, enveloping feel. Really, really interesting piece of work. As I say, it's wonderful when the concept is seen through all the way to execution, which is why this gets 5th place on my list.
Very nice. Explain and execute. It seems like there's a lot of those molecules going on these days. Just to talk a little bit about this, right? Cashmere, ambroxan, there's all those kind of amberwood, cedarwood. It seems like it's very popular these days, right? These molecules.
Well, I mean, obviously, modern perfumery wouldn't exist without them. When Fougère Royale marked towards the end of the 19th century the birth of modern perfumery, that was because it used a material the kind of material that we would now call a synthetic. The usual way that people think about it or talk about it is that synthetics give a perfume its structure, whereas naturals give them the kind of flesh and bone and the meat and the substance. Cashmeran is a very important one in perfumery, as you just mentioned as well. Ambroxan, Hedione is huge. We wouldn't have had Eau Sauvage if we didn't have Hedione. Aesop Super is probably used in every single fragrance. So yes, they're massively important. And I guess maybe some perfumers, not all, some perfumers are just becoming a bit more explicit, overt in their use of them.
Cool. It was great to brush up a little bit on these, and maybe we'll do a segment on the synthetics versus naturals one day, because this is something that people do enjoy. So my 5th pick here, so we're not too wordy and too lengthy in this video, is going to be Bohemian Lime from the house of Goldfield&Banks. This is going to be a citrus aromatic scent, very fruity, very tropical. The elements from the Australian, landscape were featured in this particular fragrance. You have the finger lime, which is very particular to the region. I absolutely love this stuff. Some people compare it to Creta Ventus. I understand. I can see, you know, the similarities with that beautiful bergamot, and there's definitely Isoe super here. Definitely get some of the synthetics here. But I absolutely love the vetiver here and that tropical vibe that you get in the dry down. The fragrance is multifaceted. You have this blast of citrus, sparkly, almost like a fizzy drink. Then it, you know, quickly transitions into like this little floral slash woody, a little bit of an aquatic feel, but not quite, just a tinge. But the fragrance is very citrus, very aromatic, very refreshing, very enticing. And it smells great. It's one that's getting me a lot of compliments. It's making me feel good in the heat right now. We're in the summertime. So my fit spot from one of my favorites this year so far goes to Bohemian Lime. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't tried that one. I tried the, I think when the brand came out, they came out with a trio or a quintet. I can't remember. And I did manage to try those, but I haven't tried that particular one. It does sound like the kind of thing that would work well, particularly on a day like this, because where I am, it's quite a muggy, heavy, humid sort of day.
Same here. Yeah, we've gotten this heat wave, which is, we're in the, you know, for Celsius purposes in the 30s and in the 90s for Fahrenheit. So it's been quite hot.
Yeah, I mean, down here, 30 would be, people would be sort of saying that they think the end of the world is nigh if we got to 30. 25 here is heat waves. Yeah.
Yesterday was 34, so it's really muggy and hot. Yeah. All right, give us your...
That's tough. Yeah, without air conditioning, that's tough.
So what do you got for us on the fourth spot?
Number 4, and I'm looking at them here thinking, ooh, which is going to be 3, which is going to be 4. Let's go for this for number 4, even though, as I say, on any other day, I may change the rank order. For number 4, I would like to do the latest from AMOUAGE. Now, you may just be able to see there the name, because, of course, what AMOUAGE are doing now is that they're putting the name on the front of the bottle rather than on the side. It's the Black Iris flanker of Interlude Man. Composed by the same person who did the original, Pierre Negrin. So why a flanker in my top 5 of the year? Because I think it does do something interesting, and I think it does bring something new to the Interlude Man story. For the people who have tried the scent, it is without any question one of my favorites from AMOUAGE, the original Interlude Man. I just love the fact that it's this chaotic, disruptive, dangerous mix of smoke and incense and resins, and it seems to be a scent that kind of fires off in all sorts of different directions while retaining this serene, calm eye in the middle of the storm. And unsurprisingly, the creative director at the time, Christopher Chong, wanted Interlude Man and Interlude Woman to somehow be olfactory representations of the idea of chaos and chaos theory and those sorts of concepts. The new creative director, or as they're calling him now, the creative experience officer, Renaud Salmon, joined a little while ago. And this is the first release under his tenure. And it's like what he has done is he's taken the original structure of Interlude Man, but squashed it, sawed off all of the rough edges. So it's still recognizably Interlude Man, with maybe the rosemary note topped up and this suggestion of an iris. I mean, it's not an overtly iris perfume, despite the name, and everything feels more concentrated. So you still get the Interlude Man that you know and you love, but it's there's a sharper focal point, I think, and that's what makes it interesting. So it's like the danger is more contained, which maybe makes it more powerful. I mean, it's one to consider. I've taken to wearing this quite a lot, and also wearing the original Interlude Man. It's how you do a flanker, I think. You show respect to the one that came before, but you also bring something new to the table.
Love that description. You 100%. I think that it was executed perfectly and very well blended. I do enjoy that one a lot. If we were doing a top 10 each, not both, but Interlude, because I haven't tried the Eccentric, but Interlude would have definitely made my top 10. And just so you guys know, Persolaise has a tremendous channel, guys. If you haven't checked it out, please do. I'll have the link below. These fragrances that we're talking about here have all been fully reviewed on both of our channels. So if you guys want more in-depth descriptions and details on these fragrances, feel free to check those particular reviews. So I'm going with my fourth spot. I'm jumping ahead. My fourth here from the house of Tom Ford. I do enjoy Tom Ford a lot, the private blend. And for those of you who know my taste, I do tend to I like everything, but my personal favorites are the old school stuff, you know, the fougères, the barbershop feel stuff. So this is one that I absolutely adored, which is Tom Ford's Beau de Jour. They took the private blend and now made it into the regular men's line. And I absolutely love what they did here. Again, prominent lavender note, a little bit spicy, a little bit creamy, somewhat powdery. I love the lavender. It's just so calming, so smooth, so satisfying. It's sophisticated, it's elegant. There's also some oak moss here, which brings some green facets to the fragrance, which I do. Oak moss is one of my favorites of all time, you know, when it comes to notes. And there's also a hint of patchouli and amber in a dry down, which adds a little bit of sweetness and warmth to the composition. Just a fantastic, again, well executed. I love this stuff. And at my fourth spot, Tom Ford, Beau de Jour.
Definitely gets the thumbs up from me, that one. But for me, that was because I think I was more aware of that one in 2019 when it came out as the private blend.
Correct.
Tom Ford is usually good, I think, or I should say as a brand, they're usually good when they do retro. I mean, did you get quite a nice kind of retro vibe from this one?
For sure. Absolutely. It's got like an old school elegance about it, you know, from, you know, old world, you know, timeless classics, you know, Givenchy Gentleman, the original. There's a lot of resemblances here with classics that my father used to wear. So it gives me that nostalgic feel. I did love that about it, for sure. Nice pointing that out.
Definitely. I like that one.
What do you got for us at your third spot?
Okay. Number 3 is this very, very evil looking juice. Wow. Look at the color of that. The color is I'm sure artificial. And this is the kind of perfume where I think, why did they have to name it that? Because my French is not good enough to pronounce this properly. But we'll give it a shot. It's from Serge Lutens, and it's Des clous pour une PELURE, which basically means cloves or nails for peel. Thank you very much for mentioning my channel, by the way. In the video where I talk about this more in depth, we actually go into a discussion, because some of the people who are watching the video provided a very helpful discussion of the different meanings that this name has if you're a French speaker. So name aside, this I liked because it just completely took me by surprise. Those of you who recognize this bottle will know that this is obviously in Serge Lutens' lighter range, so the range where he has his fresher, less demanding scents, I suppose you could say. And this one was just a joy from start to finish, because it pretty much just is cloves. So you've got the bite of the cloves, you've got that kind of slightly medicinal feel as well that comes from the eugenol, which is one of the components of cloves, and orange. Really, really sweet, bright orange. So to those who kind of get Christmas references and Christmas potpourri and Christmas cooking and Christmas baking, it suddenly takes you to Christmas, because you start thinking of cinnamon and baked apples and all of those sorts of things. But it also has real lift and freshness and brightness. And, you know, you were talking about your lime scent. This is the perfume that I've been reaching for those sorts of days, because you know how some perfumes seem to have this power to like cut through clouds just to sort of separate them. This completely does that, but it also does it in a kind of youthful, exuberant, smiling way. It's a really, really happy perfume, which is unusual from Serge Lutens. So that goes to number 3, because it just constantly puts a smile on my face.
Well, because it has this spicy facet that you talk about with the cloves and the Christmas spices, would you say that's more of a citrus aromatic, a little bit spicy, or is it more of a woody aromatic scent?
Good question. See, if you could see the color on my hand, I mean, this color is, do not wear this on white clothes, I don't think, or maybe it washes off. No, I mean, what the first hit that you get is definitely spicy woody, with that sweet citrus kind of doing its thing in the background. So yeah, I think I would say spicy woody.
But you can wear in the high heat and it's not going to be overbearing? Yeah?
Yes, because that citrus cuts through all of those facets. Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, it's one of those scents that maybe has heavy materials at its heart, but they're kind of lifted and made transparent and lighter.
Very nice. At my third spot here, I'm going back to the citrus aromatic fragrances. What I do enjoy citruses, especially at this time of the year when it's heavy, hot. You need something to lift you up. It's bright. It's, you know, citrus. And this particular fragrance I recently reviewed, and from the house of Parfums et Marly, they're notorious for their heavier stuff, like your Harrod, your Carlisle, your Wajan. They're notable, you know, for those kind of scents. So now they got into the freshies last year with Sedley, and this is their second installment of a freshie. And this one here called Greenley, which had some controversy with the name. It started with one name, changed to a second name, and they finally, you know, set up on this particular name here, Greenley. It is a greenish kind of a bottle, although the juice is not green like yours. This is a very, very nice scent. It's got synthetic notes, of course. So this actually had a molecule created from Givaudan, in particular for Parfums et Marly, called Pomerose, which is a molecule that will give you like this plum, dried fruits, rose, like a fruity rose kind of effect to the scent in the heart. Starts off very bright, very citrus. Then you have this very sweet, creamy kind of a heart. And to dry down, the citrus will stay throughout the whole life of the fragrance. It's going to be heavily synthetic. So, you know, if you don't like that, if that bothers you, this is not going to be for you. I don't mind it because it also is green. It's got some oak moss. So I do enjoy that a lot. And it's green, it's citrus, it's aromatic, and it's very long lasting, which is what I love about this one because it smells good. It made me feel good. I got very good positive notes with this. So if you want for compliments, you're going to love to wear this because people are going to love the way you smell. But it's a very youthful, it's a very, jovial, very, you know, fun and playful type of a scent. So you must like that kind of a scent, more youthful, more in a young generation, youthful, to appreciate it. But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it a lot. I even get resemblances with Office for Men from Jeremy Fragrance. It's got that kind of a facet, that kind of an aura about it. So if you like those kind of scents, you're going to enjoy this one. But obviously with the quality of Parfums et Marly, long lasting, I got 10 plus hours with this fragrance for a citrus aromatic to last that long. I was really blown away, and I did enjoy the scent a lot.
That you have actually made me feel intrigued enough to try that one. It's an interesting brand, that. You know how, I'm sure you must get this as well, some brands just constantly keep slipping under your radar, and you sort of think, oh yes, I'll get to them one day, and then you kind of don't. But then the moment comes when it's right, and you do get around to them. And Parfums et Marly has definitely been a brand like that for me. So thanks for the sort of pointer, the tip that I should give them some time.
You haven't really tried anything from Parfums et Marly?
Not a huge amount. Not a huge amount.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. They have some really, really nice quality fragrances, especially for me, the freshies, they're just getting into it now. But I discovered this brand back in 2012, and I was drawn to them from Harrod, which is a tobacco ambery kind of a scent. So I like those kind of scents from them, especially from the cold season, you know, the late fall and winter time. Wajan, which is a heavy cinnamon, almost like an apple pie a la mode kind of thing with the amber, which is reminiscent of like vanilla ice cream on top of a warm, apple pie. So I like those kind of scents that they have, those heavier and more spicier fragrances they have in their portfolio. The freshy stuff, I think they're starting to learn to do these, but I think their forte is definitely the heavier and spicier stuff.
No, see, as you were saying some of those names, I was thinking, oh yes, of course, I've heard of this, I've heard of that, but haven't actually properly tried them. So you can't keep up with everything, can you? You literally can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's do it. Number 2, we're getting to the top here.
Number 2. So at number 4, I had something which was a flanker, and at number 2, I'm actually daring to put something which, in a way, is kind of a reissue. Although the brand themselves say that it's different from the original. And it's this. I don't know if you can see there, but this is Sicily from Dolce & Gabbana. Some people watching right now will immediately probably be thinking, oh, but that's like a scent that's almost 20 years old. And you would be absolutely right. The original Sicily came out in 2003. It was composed by Nathalie Lorson. And then I guess things happened, and then it got removed from the brand's catalogue. But some of you will recognize that this is the Dolce & Gabbana exclusive packaging, their so-called Velvet range, which in the UK is exclusive to Harrods, I believe. This is certainly a Harrods exclusive in the UK for the moment. And they asked Nathalie Lorson to update this for 2020. I don't remember enough about the original to be able to do a comparison. I'm sure I must have smelt it, back in the early part of this century. So in a way, I can kind of come to this fresh. This I loved, because it is just such an unashamedly gorgeous retro piece of work. In terms of its structure, it's an aldehydic floral with a sort of prominent woody, sandalwoody base. But don't think aldehydes Chanel number 5, not the sort of sparkling champagne bubble aldehydes, but these are more the aldehydes that make you think of candle wax, the sort of thicker, waxier feeling that you get from some aldehydes. And I guess the effect that that creates is that it from the word go, this feels like it really clings to your skin. It's got a very prominent honeysuckle, jasmine note. It's thick, it's dense, it's honeyed, sticky in the nicest possible way, and also quite funky. There's quite a bit of dirtiness going on there in the way that you would expect from bona fide vintage scents. And it's just unashamedly feminine. The one thing that I guess that's surprising about it is that with all of this description that I've given of it so far, you would expect it to be really loud and large and huge and project, whereas actually it stays closer to the skin than you would. And that's surprising, interesting. I've at times thought that I wish it would project a bit more, but maybe that's part of the point. You know, maybe you have to really lean in to get the full effect, you know, to kind of be seduced by it. But this is great. And I know that fans of the original Sicily are very, very pleased to see that it's back.
And would you say that leans a little more on the feminine side of the spectrum, a little bit more floral?
Now, anybody who watches my channel would know that I've kind of tried to put gender distinctions aside. But yes, if we're talking stereotypes, you know, in inverted commas, even the brand are kind of marketing this as a feminine, even though the exclusive range is strictly speaking supposed to be unisex. But, you know, I've worn it just to kind of test it out and see what it's like. And nobody said anything. I think it just depends on what you can pull off.
And I do too. And I like to wear some fragrances that are quote unquote geared toward women. I have no problems with that. And I, just like you, always condone that practice, that fragrances are not a gender. They're gender free. They're an art to be appreciated by everyone that does love them. And there's no season. You can wear them whenever you feel like it and how it makes you feel. But I love Natalie Larson. She's a tremendous nose, you know, just one of the best in the game currently. And I love when perfumers are asked to do these quote-unquote homages or recreations of classics. As we saw, I just talked about with Cecile Zarokian on my podcast, and she talked about the hardest project she had, and she was very proud of it, was the recreation of Green Water from Jacques Fath, which is something from the 40s. And then we saw, again, Rodrigo Fleury when he recreated Houbigant's Fougère Royale.
Fougère Royale, yes, he did, yes.
So I love when that happens, you know, to bring a modern twist to a classic. It's always nice to see, and especially when it's done tremendously well. So great pick there. My second to last year, my second pick is going to be a quote unquote indie niche brand from somebody actually here on YouTube. And I think when it comes to execution, they did a fantastic job. The perfumer of this particular fragrance is John Stephen, which is the perfumer from Boudicca de Victorious brand. He's done tremendous fragrances for them. And this stuff here, the bottle looks incredible. From the UK, I don't know if you had the pleasure to try this yet. This is Naughton&Wilson GRAVITAS. And this is basically, again, another old school, old world, classy, elegant fougère. It's just breathtaking. So if you like Tom Ford Beau de Jour, and you guys know I like this kind of genre, the barbershop fougère, this just takes up a few notches. It's long lasting. I mean, it lasts like a whole day on my skin. If I spray my shirt, forget about it. It'll be there like for 2 days. Very heavy when it comes to like the spices. You have ginger here, you have pepper, cardamom. The lavender is very predominant here, very creamy, very spicy lavender. Patchouli, oak moss. There's pepper here, and the vanilla in the dry down, which also gives this modern touch of sweetness to the fragrance and also enhances that creaminess. There's also sandalwood here. Very nicely done. The patchouli is great. It's almost chocolatey. Love this stuff. Again, have a full review on this. One of my favorite creations when it comes to like YouTuber fragrance reviewers. This was very, very nicely executed. And it comes with a good price tag too. I think it's only like $90 for 100 ml. Beautiful metal plate. Just gorgeous fragrance all around. Very good fragrance. I don't know if you had the pleasure to try it.
No, not at all. And sorry, who is the YouTuber behind it?
It's Mr. Smelly 77. It's a funny name. His real name is Dan Naughton, and he's from Essex.
Essex, okay. Yeah, John Stephen is the perfumer at the Cotswold Perfumery, which is an interesting place. Anybody watching, might want to check out their website if you keep this bit in. He is actually behind more fragrances than people realize, because in a lot of cases, he's not allowed to say that he's worked on such and such a perfume, because like some brands will say, yes, you can reveal your identity, and some brands will say, no, please keep your identity a secret. And people who have read the Chandler Burr book, I forget which is the one about Luca Turin. I'm pretty sure that's the Emperor Scent, isn't it?
Yes.
John Stephen is actually mentioned in that book. So rifle through your copy of Emperor of Scent, and they talk about going to visit a perfumer in England, because it was around about the time when Luca Turin was really kind of trying to get his theories of olfactory reception and everything out there, and John was involved in that to a certain extent, I know. So no, this is interesting. It's complete newness for me. I need to educate myself a little.
I think you're going to enjoy, and you're right. Sometimes, we know less from perfumers than we could because of confidentiality agreements with brands that you can't disclose everything in full. But let's get a drum roll here. I'm curious to see your number one spot of one of the best fragrance releases of 2020 so far.
Number one is this for now. Who knows what it might be in December. Again, from a kind of overlooked brand, a brand that people know about. This is Aesop, the Australian brand, who have got a few fragrances under their belt now. And you can just about see here, this is called ROZU, composed by Barnabé Fillon, who made their last one as well and has also done Marrakesh Intense. Why this one, without going into too much detail in this video, I think the real answer why this one is because even though I have worn it again and again and again, I still don't feel like I've come close to figuring it out. And I love that about the perfume. So yes, I've just sprayed some, I'm smelling it here. I get a rose, as the name would imply, it's called ROZU. It's not so much a kind of honeyed, milky, creamy rose. It's more a kind of jammy, sticky, peppery, spicy rose. But you also get a very, very, very strong wood note, to use stereotypes, a sort of more masculine wood note. And then it totally takes you on this unexpected, intriguing journey, because you get greens that may be there to represent the leaves, the stem. You get earthiness coming through from the patchouli. And then the most beautiful dry down that I have smelt for a long time, and yet I can't actually fully describe to you what it is in the dry down that's making it so effective. It's a combination of woodiness, some kind of gentle, delicate, powdery sweetness, maybe mosses, maybe a suggestion of vetiver. There isn't a single thing that leaps out. It is a really, really seamless, haunting, intriguing blend. Sits very, very close to the skin, which is also intriguing in itself, because it has quite an explosive opening, but then it kind of pulls back and pulls back and pulls back, which is why when I have worn it, I've also enjoyed spraying a bit on fabric, just so that I feel like it's surrounding me a little bit more, and I'm more aware of it than if I were just wearing it on skin. But the most perplexing, non-describable, indescribable piece of work that I've tried this year, I think, but in a really, really good way. I keep coming back to it to see what else I can figure out about it.
What's the name of the brand again?
The brand is called Esop. They are actually, I guess, better known for skincare, cosmetics. I'm pretty sure they don't do makeup. I think they're more about skincare and cosmetics. But as I say, they do have, and guaiac wood, I should say as well. That's one of the as it says on the side of the box here. But as I say, they do have these few perfumes under their belt. I think it may be no more than 4, possibly 5. They don't release them very frequently. I guess they just like to take their time over when the next one comes out. They're not cheap, but they're all interesting in their own way. Very, very interesting pieces.
I'm very curious. I have not tried or heard of that brand. Like you said, it's hard to keep track on everything. It's almost impossible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my number one pick, again, funny enough, it's also an Australian brand, and we've seen a lot of great releases from Australian brands, an uprise of Australian brands over the last 5 years or so. And this particular brand is an indie brand, niche at its finest. And I'm curious to know how come not many people are talking about this stuff. Perhaps they haven't been able to get their noses on it. This is from the house of Mihan Aromatics. And the fragrance is their 2020 release called Munlark Ash. Now, this particular fragrance, it's so good, guys. I love vetiver. And what this reminds me of, this is a spicier, more oriental version or more creative version of Chanel's Sycamore. So if you like that vetiver, ashy, smoky, kind of a, translucent sort of a vetiver, you're going to love this stuff. It's got black pepper, it has fir, which I love. It gives that coniferous kind of a vibe. Frankincense, which the frankincense here adds that smokiness that I talked about with a little bit of a fruity kind of a facet. As we all know, frankincense comes in many different ways and shapes and forms and smells. Blue cedar, which is natural to the Australian landscape. There's musk here, which adds sensuality to the fragrance, a touch of amber for sweetness, and the gorgeous vetiver and cedar wood. So also some synthetics here to enhance the performance, but the smell is just out of this world good. If you like vetiver, this is one that you should definitely consider checking out, guys. It's not expensive for what you're getting. Beautiful presentation, gorgeous caps. They're solid metal. Just love the fragrance. Love this stuff. I don't know if you had the pleasure to try this brand yet, Dariush.
Again, no. This is... you were saying a few minutes ago that it's hard to keep up with everything. I mean, actually, I think it is literally impossible.
It is really
when you have more than 2,000 releases a year, it is literally impossible. That sounds interesting, but it sounds like the kind of thing that I think I would like it, but I think it wouldn't like me. The vetiver is an interesting one. It's I really struggle with vetivers that, to my nose, at a certain point in their development, turn swampy and remind me, vetiver fans, they remind me of like onions that have been overboiled, and some vetiver scents do that, and actually some people love that, and I don't go in hugely for this idea of body chemistry changing a perfume depending on who's wearing it, but I think vetiver is one of these materials that can subtly but significantly smell different on different people. So I always have to take it easy on vetiver. It's like sycamore. I absolutely adore smelling sycamore on a blotter, but on me, it becomes a bit of a tough wear after about an hour.
I can understand completely. My wife is not fond of vetiver as well. She kind of like hates them, but for some reason, a lot of times if I put something on, she's not aware that I put a vetiver scent on. I'll come close and say, "Oh, you smell good," and I'll be like, "Oh, that's vetiver." She's like, "Really?" Because on my skin, it just tends to work. And that's why I love it so much. In fact, you can't see here, but down there, someplace to my right, your left, there is a whole section on my collection just dedicated to vetiver fragrance and old school fragrances. So I'm a big fan of it. Just love it. And I think they did a tremendous job with this one. So guys, thanks so much for joining us today. Please do not forget to subscribe and check out Dariush's channel, which is Persolaise, a great fragrance channel. It does lives, I think, on the weekends. Love at First Sniff, correct? Is your series?
Love at First Scent.
Love at First Scent. Just a great channel, man. I have all the details for you guys in the link below, guys. Go show him some love. Check out the channel. It's quality. He's knowledgeable. He's very, eclectic in his taste. He's going to talk to you guys about everything and anything, just like he talked about. There's no gender. He doesn't discriminate. He'll cover everything on this channel, and it's amazing to interact with him. I'm very glad to have found him through the fragrance community. That's the power of the community here. We can find people that are like-minded individuals that share this passion that we all do, guys. It's all about uniting and bringing together, and that's why we're here. Dariush, please, your final words here today.
Well, again, like I did, the very end of the interview that you were kind enough to broadcast with me. Thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate that. I think my final words would be that all of this could completely change by the time we get to December, because, of course, a lot of brands hold back their best releases, their heavy hitters, in the run-up to the end of year season, to the gift-buying season. So it'll be, I guess, from around about end of August, beginning of September, that we'll start seeing what brands are really trying to push. But also, because of what's happening in the world at the moment, there are some releases, quite a few releases, that have been shelved or postponed until 2020. So who knows? It's all for the, none of these may be in my final top 10 of the year, or all of them may be. It'll be interesting to see what happens between now and the end of December.
In fact, what we'll do, me and Dariush, is we'll come back to you guys probably the last week of December or first week in January or so, and we'll give you guys my top 10 and his top 10. So we'll have like a top 20 for you guys with the best and final list of, the most, favorite fragrances we tried in 2020. The final list for you guys, late this year or early next year. So stay tuned for that, guys. And again, every single fragrance was released that we talked about here today. We've actually done full reviews on them. We'll have the links below attached to you guys of my channel. Of course, you guys come to my channel. Please show support to Dariush. I'm going to have the link below. Go ahead and check the channel out. And again, comment below. Let me know if you guys have tried any of these 10 fragrances. What are your thoughts on them? Don't forget to subscribe and show your support to this channel as well, because you guys know we have the passion. We do this because we love this and we love to share it with you. So continue to show your support. It's important to us for the algorithms so we can continue to do what we do. And as always, wear what truly moves you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.